Some stories hide in plain sight. They wait, quietly shaping everything around us. And sometimes, they change the way we see the world forever. By the way, this channel posts one insight like this every day, so if this breakdown helps you, consider subscribing. Every day, millions of us fall into the same trap of spending more than we earn. And it's not just bad luck or poor choices. It's a system designed to keep us that way. The idea that buying more stuff will somehow make us happier or more successful is deeply ingrained in American culture. But beneath the surface, consumerism often works against our financial well-being. From the moment you wake up, advertisements, social media, and even your friends push the message that if you're not constantly acquiring the latest gadgets, fashion, or experiences, you're missing out, or worse, falling behind. This relentless pressure fuels an endless cycle of want and need that's almost impossible to escape. Take, for example, the emergence of buy now, pay later schemes that have exploded in popularity over the last few years. At first glance, they seem like a harmless convenience, allowing shoppers to split purchases into smaller, interest-free payments. But in reality, these options can encourage impulsive spending and mask the true cost of what we buy. Suddenly, that new pair of sneakers or the latest smartphone doesn't feel like a big expense because the payment is stretched out. Yet those small amounts add up, piling on debt that often goes unnoticed until the credit card bill arrives. And when that happens, the financial strain can be crushing. Or consider the way credit card companies masterfully craft their rewards programs. Cashback offers, travel points, exclusive discounts. They sound like a great deal, but they work as a psychological trap. People spend more to maximize rewards, not necessarily because they need what they're buying, but because they want to burn back some value. In this loop, the line between smart spending and overspending blurs, and before long, credit card balances rise, sometimes to unmanageable levels. But it's not just about individual choices. The economy itself runs on this cycle of consumption. And to keep that demand alive, marketers study human behavior with incredible precision. Every color, every slogan, every placement is designed to trigger emotions, joy, fear, envy, that push us toward the checkout. Take holiday sales like Black Friday or Cyber Monday. These events aren't just about discounts. They're engineered to create a sense of urgency, scarcity, and excitement, compelling people to buy things they hadn't planned to. The result? A surge in spending that often comes at the cost of long-term financial health. And then there's social media, the modern-day marketplace that's reshaped how we perceive ourselves and others. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok thrive on showcasing curated lives filled with adventure, luxury, and trendiness. This constant exposure to idealized versions of reality can make anyone feel inadequate, driving a powerful urge to keep up, whether that means new clothes, fancy dinners, or the latest tech gadget. Influencers and ads blend seamlessly, making the message all the more persuasive. You need to buy this to belong, to be happy, to succeed. It's a complex web where cultural norms, corporate interests, and individual psychology intersect. Breaking free is not just about stricter budgets or better financial literacy. It requires awareness of how deeply embedded these forces are. Recognizing the invisible hand guiding our spending is the first step toward reclaiming control, not just over our wallets, but over the choices that shape our lives. In stepping back, we begin to see that consumerism isn't simply a matter of economics. It's a story about identity, belonging, and meaning. When we buy, we're not just exchanging money for goods. We're attempting to fill gaps, to express ourselves, or to connect with others. And that's what makes disentangling ourselves from this cycle so challenging. It's not just dollars at stake, but the narratives we tell about who we are and who we want to become. Yet there is a quiet power in choosing differently. In moments when we pause before the next purchase, when we ask ourselves if what we seek can be found elsewhere, perhaps in time spent, in relationships nurtured, or in simple gratitude, we open a door. It's a door to a more intentional way of living, where value isn't measured by price tags or possessions, but by what truly enriches us. This path isn't about perfection or deprivation. It's about becoming mindful of the forces at play and gently reclaiming our autonomy. Because at the end of the day, the most enduring wealth comes not from what we accumulate, but from the freedom to live life on our own terms. And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of story worth sharing. It's a story that asks us to look inward, to question the habits we've accepted as normal, and to imagine a life where happiness isn't dictated by the next purchase or the latest trend. In that sense, the shift begins quietly, in the space between impulse and action, in that brief moment when we choose to pause and reflect. As we navigate this modern landscape, it's worth remembering that change doesn't happen overnight. It's built through small acts of awareness, through conversations that challenge the status quo, and through compassion, both for ourselves and for the pressures that shape our decisions. There's grace in recognizing that the system is complex, and that breaking free is a process, not a moment. In reclaiming our stories from consumerism, we give ourselves permission to find meaning beyond material things. We open ourselves up to experiences that nourish the soul, to connections that don't come with price tags, and to a sense of self not measured by wealth or possessions. So perhaps the greatest insight lies here. True freedom isn't about having more, it's about needing less. And in embracing that truth, we may discover a richer, quieter joy waiting patiently all along. And as we move forward, it's important to hold space for both the struggle and the hope in this journey, because the temptation to consume won't simply vanish. It's woven into the fabric of our society, our media, and sometimes even our relationships. But within that challenge lies an invitation to redefine what fulfillment means, to question the relentless chase for more, and to cultivate gratitude for what already exists in our lives. In those moments when we choose presence over purchase, patience over impulse, we reclaim a little piece of ourselves. We remind ourselves that happiness can be found not in the next sale or the newest gadget, but in the quiet comfort of being content. It's a subtle rebellion against a world that constantly asks for more, louder, faster. So maybe the story that was hiding in plain sight all along isn't just about consumerism, it's about awakening, about learning to listen to the rhythms of our own lives rather than the thrum of advertising, about honoring what it means to truly live rather than endlessly consume. And in that awakening, there is a gentle, lasting kind of freedom, the freedom to slow down, to choose with intention, and ultimately to find ourselves beyond the stuff, a quieter joy waiting patiently all along. It's a joy that doesn't shout or clamor for attention, but rather whispers through the moments we often overlook, the shared laughter with a friend, the warmth of sunlight on a quiet afternoon, the simple pleasure of a book well read. These are the pieces that make a life feel whole, steadying us in a world that often feels like it's spinning too fast. There's a kind of courage in stepping off the conveyor belt of constant consumption. It means daring to resist the noise, to question the assumptions handed down by culture and commerce. It's a commitment to finding value in the intangible, the memories we create, the wisdom we gain, the kindness we offer and receive. And in that commitment, there is a profound shift. Our worth becomes less about what we own and more about who we are. This shift doesn't erase the realities of the system we live in. It acknowledges them, wrestles with them, and finds ways to live authentically within them. It's not about perfection, but about progress, about making choices that align with our deeper values, even when it feels hard. And maybe that's the story we all need to hear, that freedom is possible, not by amassing more, but by embracing enough. That joy is found not in the next purchase, but in presence. That we can be whole, not because of what we acquire, but because of the meaning, connection, and calm we allow ourselves to nurture. So as we close this chapter, perhaps the quiet lesson is this: to listen carefully, to choose gently, and to live with intention. Because in doing so, we don't just change the way we spend, we change the way we live. And in that change, there is a peace worth seeking, a calm worth holding on to, a quieter joy waiting patiently all